Hi, everyone, and welcome to Now What's Next, the show where we teach you how to love your story so that you may achieve the life and business you so dream by using simple plans, how-tos, tips, and information to get out of your own way, because that's really what happens most of the time, right? We get in our own way. And today's show is all about how starting a business is hard, and there are certain pitfalls you can avoid. My name is David Vaughn. I am the host of the show, and I do welcome everyone here. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for telling a little bird. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about it first. So the first thing I want to make sure that I do reach out to everybody is I don't claim to have everything. So if there's something that I do miss out on, something that you have encountered and would like me to cover, by all means, put that in the chat section. If you have a question, I have got the nice little GIF going in there of how you can present a question and let me know. All right, let's start talking about the pitfalls, because there are some pitfalls that we need to avoid when starting a business. You know, everybody's got an idea. Everybody starts off with an idea. And it's like, this could be done better. I don't want to work for anybody else anymore. I'm just not in the life and happiness that I want. So I want to start a business. And it sounds great. And it's got a huge euphoric feeling. I mean, you tell your family, you tell your friends, you tell your colleagues, you put it up on Facebook, and everybody gives you high fives and pats you on the back and says, go get it. I know you're going to do great. And you've just got this euphoric feeling overwhelming you. It's wonderful. And then what happens? The euphoric feeling goes away. And yes, it goes away. And at the end of the day, it feels like it's all just you. And then the questions start to come out. What do I do? You'll see you're sick in the head and enjoy long hours, no life, people effing you over constantly and never knowing where my next paychecks are coming from. That's why we are in the biz, lol. That's right. You know what? Any entrepreneur, I can attest to that as well. There's got to be something wrong with us. I mean, right? Hey, listen, I take away my safety net of having a job and a steady paycheck and all this type of stuff. And all of a sudden I'm going to go do it all myself. Yeah, I'm there with you. It's almost like, you know what? Let's go ahead and get into the first step. So the first thing that you need to do, one of the pitfalls that you need to avoid, is that a lot of times what you end up doing is basically buying a job instead of a business. You got to be involved in it, and in the beginning, especially the solopreneurs, the mompreneurs, whatever it is, we're trying to go at it by ourselves. It's us on our own. It's us against the world. And we feel that we have to do it all. And in the beginning, if the budget's not, the budget's zero, it's a nice goose egg. You don't have anything. So you're starting at the bottom and you do. But after that, all of a sudden it's like, wow, you know what? You don't. Okay. It's not a job. It's a purpose with passion. That's what it is. But a lot of times we just treat it as buying a job instead of starting a business and starting our own stuff. You just trade one headache and one nightmare for a whole lump of nightmares. So yeah, you know what? You got to be involved in the beginning of daily operations at the start. But remember, the ultimate goal is to grow so that you are working on your business more than you work in your business. And that's the key thing. There's a huge difference. It's almost like, let's go right into the second step. You can be a great plumber, but you have no idea how to run your business. You can be a great instructor, but have no idea how to get the students. You can be this great whatever, and you just have no idea how to run that business. Your former jobs or it's all training. It's apprenticeships for what you were coming up to, for you being able to run your own business. And there is no, here's the thing. And I call it the snow effect, SNO, shiny new object. And it's not just the tools, the hardware, the gadgets, but it's all the courses that are, I mean, it's like we're in a membership apocalypse right now, right? There's something you want to do, and it's, you know what, that may be part of your model, is to offer a membership course for somebody to be able to figure out how to do something better or something of that nature. But in the beginning, we get so caught up in all these different, oh, here's where you need to go for this, and here's where you need to go for that, and no, you need to do this, no, you need to do that, and it becomes a snow effect, and we get so caught up in all the glitz and glamour, we get nothing done. We're not running the business. We're not working on the business. We're not building our business. So one of the key factors I always tell people is make yourself a note, a sign. Make lots of signs. And it's a question. Am I doing what I'm doing right now? Is it helping me build my business? I've got them everywhere, because I need to keep that focus. I need the glitz and glamour, the shiny headlights of the snow effect to not distract me from the main goal, which is to build my business to help serve others and to provide to them. And if you're caught up in the snow effect, you're robbing yourself, you're robbing those that you want to serve, you're robbing everybody of it. The number 3, and let me know if these resonate well with you, or if you're, you know what, you're cracked up, you're speaking jibber jabber. And like I say, I will be opening the seat up so people can pop in, but I want to get through these real quick. So the third one, I need a business partner. I need somebody else to help me out. And you go looking and searching, hey, help, you do this, or you seem to be great. Will you help me get started, and I'll give you equity. So now all of a sudden you're giving away your business before you've even got your business going. I mean, what's giving away nothing of nothing? Nothing. But then when you start making something, all of a sudden you're not making all that something because you've already promised to start giving it away. Very rarely have I seen, and I know Shark Tank is all about this, but if you witness it, these guys, the people on Shark Tank, The Profit, whatever, all these other shows that are hip and popular right now, these people have already started doing stuff. They've already got a business. They've already started generating some kind of income. They've already started building their list or anything. Then they start going for it. I can't even, I don't even think I can cite an example where somebody who was just starting out went to go get a partner and provided, said, hey, I'll give you equity in the business, and had it be successful. Because the partner, they're not really interested in what the business is they're interested in the money that you said they would be making if they helped you out. So that's their whole primary purpose. Their primary purpose is not your primary purpose of passion. Starting a business from scratch. Well, where else do we begin? Well, you've always got the opportunity to try and get into an existing type business, something that's already there, something that's already got a list and customers and all that type of stuff. But a lot of times that's not what we're doing. We're going at it by ourselves. And I keep harping on going at it by ourselves for a particular reason. The reason that I keep going about it all ourselves is because you don't really have to go at it by yourself. And this kind of goes back to the business partner. A lot of times you don't need a partner. What you need is mentorship. A lot of times you don't need a second set of hands dipping into the till. What you need is the ability to leverage the knowledge and the experience and the wisdom off of somebody else who's been successful. But we get caught up in the snowstorm of, if I can't do it by myself, I'm a failure. Why would anybody pay attention to me? Why isn't it, all I'm doing is copying off this other person? That's not it. And I had a show last night where I talked about this briefly on leverage, and I'll bring the leverage word up again. You know what? It's not. You don't have to go at it alone. You're not alone. You're not the first person ever to start up a business, and whatever your niche or field or product is, somebody else is out there. And if you've got questions, go ask and be upfront about it. Be honest. Say, hey, listen, I admire what you've done. I want to get into the field and do the same thing. But you know what? How did you build your list? What did you do when you started out? Trust me, people love it. It's like the biggest compliment in the world. It's like flattery, except it's not flattery just fluff. It's flattery because you know what? You've been through this, and they want to help. They want to help. If you ever run across somebody who you've asked, hey, how did you do this? If you ever, you know what, and they refuse and they just blow you off and all this type of stuff, honestly, they're probably not the person that you need to look up to in the first place. And they're not going to be in business long because it's all about helping somebody else. Oh, let's see. So next one, let's go through. Started going door to door with flyers in the snow promoting house painting. Wow. See, that's good. That's great. I don't know how much business you would have gotten, but I'm sure you weren't promoting painting their house while it was snowing then. It was probably, hey, listen, when the snow melts, you're going to want your house painted. Oh, interior. Okay, well, hey, that's even better. It's warm. I live in North Carolina. It doesn't snow a lot where I am. Thinking too small. Here's a good pitfall. Thinking too small. Just covering the day-to-day expenses, just making it to where I'm making what I was before, just covering the bills. You're not thinking of the growth opportunities. And this actually leads into the next thing. Sounds like you do. Sounds like you've experienced a lot. And welcome, Jim Thomas. Thanks a lot for being in here. But thinking too small. So, you know what? Many of us entrepreneurs and small business owners, we want to generate that wage for ourselves and nothing more. Instead of aiming to build a profit, instead of aiming to build something larger than ourselves, which is scary, you know, to sit there and think of how can I do something that's bigger than myself? We just aim for that safety net, that the nice, cozy, warm blanket of, this will help me just get by. And, you know, all you're doing is setting yourself up for continued frustration and misery because you're constantly trying to fight it. You know, you've got to think bigger. You've got to go outside your box. If you don't stay super uncomfortable, then you're not doing it right. That's really what it is. When you are super uncomfortable, then you are thinking, your blood's going, your vigor's up, you're ready for what the next challenge is. You're going to meet it head on. When you're comfortable, you're complacent. You're almost to the point of stagnant, and stagnant water stinks. So flow, move, go boldly. Get out there, just get it done. And that moves into the couple of the next points is stop waiting for perfection, stop overanalyzing, and just go. If you want a website, get a website up. If you want to do video, go do a video. If you want to live stream, go live stream. If you want to do a podcast, go record audio. If you want to increase your list, well, get yourself out there and give people the opportunity to someplace to go so that they can increase the list. Stop holding back, trying to sit there and say, perfect it. You know what? That's not what it's all about. You can perfect as you go along because that's one of the things that you need to be prepared for in business, no matter what, is always be ready for change because change is always going to come about. And if you're not ready for change when it happens, then you're going to get left behind. You're going to leave yourself behind. Your customers are going to start going to someplace else because you're in the same place. Again, we're back to that stagnant. Competing on price and price alone. There is a saying, if someone comes to you for price, they will leave you for price. And if you're consistently trying to, especially if you're in a field that's inundated and price and all this type of stuff, that doesn't differentiate you. Let me explain to you, and Simon Sinek, Start With Why, Chris Brogan, Scott Strahan, all these people out there, they will say the exact same thing that I'm going to say to you. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. People buy from you not because of what it is you have to offer. They buy from you because of why you do it, how you do it, and what it will do to better their lives. You're out there to serve them. But a lot of times we get caught up in the competition. Oh, what's this guy doing? Oh, he just dropped his price. I got to do this. To hell with your competition. People don't, you know what? It got said. Let me find this real quick so that I can make sure that I say it correctly, because this was absolutely the way that it is. Sales is not about convincing someone to give you money for something they don't want. It's about walking them through the story already in their head. And that says it absolutely perfectly. Okay? It's not about the price. Don't make it about the price. Make it about why you believe it will make their lives better. And that has to do with you loving your story more than you love everybody else's. And when you get caught up in the jealousy, when you get caught up in the frustration, when you get caught up in the poo-poo mouth, saying things like, somebody promotes themselves and talks about, hey, I just had this great month or something like that. And in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, that, who cares and all that type of stuff. You know what the problem is? You love their story more than you love your own. All right. You're letting them rent space in your head. You don't have time or the money to give up. So stop. Love your story. Figure it out. All right. Where are we at? Yeah, that covered that. Hiring cheap employees. Okay. In the day of outsourcing, as much outsourcing as available and the cost, the least amount of cost that there is, you need to make sure cheap is not based off of the price. Cheap is the fact that they don't believe in the vision of the business that you're creating. Okay, so you got to be careful about that. You got to be careful that you don't get too many employees that you don't need. But again, going back to that very first point about doing it all by yourself and everything, working in your business instead of on your business, you are going to need some help to get it done. There are people that are out there that can help do the little mundane stuff, the day-to-day stuff, the stuff that only costs a fraction of the amount of the hour. You know what? You're going to need them to do that type of stuff so that you can work on the big dollar stuff, the stuff that is delivering all that great value to your clients, winning them over, building up your business. Just be careful of the cheap employees. And again, it's not about the price. Okay. Focusing on only one area of your business. Now, I brought this in because, and I just had a conversation with somebody else. So I won't mention any names, but what I will say is that this person reiterated something from someone they know they were talking to. So this person had a webinar. The webinar had a few attendees, less than 10. And so the question was posed, well, how did you alert people that the webinar was happening? And the person said, well, I let my list know. They said, okay, well, how many people are on your list? And they said, 100. All right. Where else? They were like, well, I didn't really. I think I posted on Facebook once. And the question went, okay, well, did you Periscope about it or blab about it? Or did you run a Facebook ad letting people know? Or did you put a YouTube video up talking about it and leading people to it? Did people understand how to get to you? Did they understand the call to action that you were initiating? And the person's response was emphatically, no, 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 no. It's like, all right, well, then how do you expect other people to join in? Focusing on one area of your business is the exact same thing. Okay. The business is a machine. It's got lots of moving parts, and your head's got to be like a kid in a candy store on a swivel stick. It's got to be constantly going around. But and this goes back to hiring people on to help you out, project managers when you get to that point. But one area of your business, if you focus solely on that, then you're neglecting every place else. All right. So you need to make sure that you are doing things. Don't keep it all on your head. So write things down, plan things out, Get them out of your head, get them down on paper, prioritize from there. So, if you need the website, if you need a fan page, if you need to set up a graphic for the webinar coming up, if you need to do the slides and all this type of stuff, if it's all sitting up here, then you're not working on it right, because you need to figure it out. Then start planning the time out. All right. Not testing and measuring anything. That's one area that happens a lot. A lot of times we come out with the product, the service, and no one buys. And the reason that no one buys is because it's not really what they needed. It's what you thought they needed, but you didn't initiate their help in helping formulate. That's using help one too many times. You didn't initiate them into the process of the creation. All right. Not testing, not measuring, that's where that goes. You want to make sure that what you're providing, how you're serving, provides the maximum amount of value. Then what you need to do is make sure that you ask questions. Hey, listen, how did this work out? It's just like I'm doing this blab now, and I'm going to continuously ask, how are things going? How's everything resonating? Let me know in the comments. And I promise I'm almost there, so I'm getting ready to open up the seat for anybody that wants to join in. Not testing or measuring, how are you going to know what the people really want? And when it fails, you're not really going to have anything to gauge against success and failure, because it's all sitting up on top of your head. All right. Doing the work once and getting paid once. There's a few things. Actually, I don't even know. I could probably come up with everything having an evergreen response. Part of getting away from working in your business and working on your business is setting up each product or service as its own machine, self-operating and automating to its utmost. It's almost like the Ronco cooker. Set it and forget it. All right. If you do it once and that's it, then what happens is you get paid once and that's it. If you don't have a plan worked out for, hey, listen, you know what? There's a ton of people that this can help out. What can I do so that I can just kind of set this up so that it starts doing its own thing, and I can then start focusing on another area of what that I learned about that people have an interest in knowing more about, or a new product that people want to do. You set up a way for it to become evergreen. All right. And when a product becomes evergreen, then it starts making money for you. And that's your money working for you. That's it right there. And that's part of the process of working on it instead of working in it. But a lot of times we set it and then that's it. We're done. We don't go on. I've got a chest full of knowledge over here and it's just gathering dust. It's not serving anybody. So what you're now doing is doing a disservice to you, and you're doing a disservice to your community. Because what happens if you find a new audience in a new area that you never knew existed before, but you don't introduce the stuff that happened here that you did before? Now you're leaving them out. So make sure that you have somewhere in your arsenal, somewhere in your quiver, a way to make sure that you set everything to go as you want it to go. And the last thing I'm going to say is one of the pitfalls is, and this goes against the word authentic and authenticity. Those two words are way overused and way misused. What I want you to do is I want you to be the authority. Okay. I want you to wake up and find ways. If you've got to create some mantras and some daily sayings that you say at the beginning, I want you to put yourself in the thing as an authority, because again, as we start out, we're like, I'm just, why would anybody listen to me when this person's been doing it for so much longer than I have? What's the thing? Why would they pay attention to me? Why are they going to buy from me? They're not going to if you don't instill the confidence that you need to have in you. You've got to sit there and be, and I'm not saying tout yourself as the authority. Anybody that does a self-title promotion expert, guru, authority, whatever. I don't promote that at all. And I'm not saying go out and do that. But I am saying you need to build yourself up. You need to act like the authority. You need to be it. It's almost like the fake it till you make it scenario. Okay, except you're not faking it. You're really working through it. Ain't no fake about it. But you got to get to the make it. You got to get to that point where everything starts to flow and you're in a better place in your life and in your business. And you got to start somewhere. So it's you at the end of the day, staring back in the mirror. Make sure that you prompt yourself up. And again, be ready for the change. Be ready for the failures that can happen. Because when something goes wrong, and it will, the difference between you making it successfully and the other person who is making it successfully is how you're going to approach it. Thanks, David Thomas Clark's. Those words, authenticity, etc., just drive me crazy. Good. They drive me crazy too. So, you know what? That's all the steps and all the little things that I had to go over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and unlock the seat. Anybody is welcome to come in. I will otherwise continue to blab about. But if you've got particular questions or you've got a particular viewpoint or anything like that, absolutely hop into the seat. We got Jim Thomas coming in, so let me do that. Welcome, Jim. I think I see you. I'm not sure if I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now and I can see you now. So welcome, Jim Thomas. I appreciate you being here on Now What? What's Next?
Hey, David. Yeah, I enjoyed your presentation. I agree with a lot of your points. I was just going to say one of the things I think if you're going to do something big, though, it's good to have a partner. But although I've never had this, but I think it's a good idea. But if you have a partner, I saw an a big entrepreneur make this point. He says, make sure you have your equity agreements laid out so they don't fail and suddenly they own 20% of the company or 30% of the company, and they didn't. There was no milestones laid out where your equity accrues based on you doing X, Y, and Z and being here for this amount of time. Otherwise, you could be in a real world of hurt. I think, like you said, when you made your other excellent point about thinking big, I think that's a really important point. In order to think big, sometimes you need some more bodies to, cycle through what you're trying to build, depending on what the business is. So that's the only point. But I agree with a lot of what you said, especially.
Thank you.
Another excellent point that just definitely is, don't trade your time for money if you can get away with it. If you can build something and then have that make more business for you. And that's why, most of my stuff is programming and I write code and have a website and it does X, Y, and Z. And we have subscribers that, subscribe to our service, but I write the code once, it gets read many times.
Yeah.
And it provides this service. So it's a mini replication of myself. Okay, you're doing this, you're doing this. And it's really me, and it's always providing this service.
Right.
And another aspect provides that service. So that's
right.
I agree with that. If you can ever, write once and have the world read many, that's a huge advantage.
So thinking back to when you first got started, what is one of the big pitfalls that you ran across that if you could go back to your younger self, your beginning self, what would you make sure that you tell yourself? Because we all have them.
I would hide from myself how much work is involved. I think a lot of people say, if you look back, would you have done it? You're like, oh man, I don't want to do that again. So, but also I like the idea if you could find someone to work with where you can, rather than you only have so many man hours. And if it's something where if it's a coaching type deal, well, maybe that doesn't make sense. But if it's a development, like you're writing an app or some kind of a program, I think it might make sense if you can find somebody who can really add value. But that's the hard part. I mean, how do you know? I think these kids are able to do it. They go to college with this guy and that guy, and he's good, and they come together and they whip up some agreement, and they whip up some app. But I think throwing more people at it is a helpful thing. Although I'm leery like you, give equity away, and how much is there to,
I just you know what, and it every model varies, and like I was trying to preface in there, it's not that I know everything, and I just can't. I've been around for a while. I've done it for a while. I've seen a lot of failure from people that did choose, thinking they needed someone to help. And I just, there are ways, and that's why I talked about leverage. And I did a blab last night about it, and I really went into leverage. If you don't have an audience, go align yourself with someone who does and leverage it. And I went over the points of it's not copying, it's not plagiarism, it's not trying to steal people away or anything. We can come up with all these reasons in our head of why we shouldn't do it, and they're not there. And again, probably the biggest thing is, well, if I go ask for help, I'm not doing it myself, and that makes me a failure. And it doesn't make you a failure. It's kind of like, I ask people, I'm like, okay, well, did you just walk, or did you sit up on your butt? And then did you start to crawl? And then did you teeter-totter around on your legs and fall back? It's a process. Nobody jumps in a car just to drive. We have to, everything's a process. But for some reason, in the business world and being an entrepreneur, all of a sudden people are like, if I can't do it myself, I'm a failure. And we've got, and that's, I have, my company is called The Brand Machine. And it's about getting out of your own way. We constipate the situations, and that's just one huge way to constipate the situation. So, Thomas Clark, I want to welcome you in. Thank you very much for being on Now What's Next, a fellow North Carolina native. Not to go against you, Jim, or anything like that, but I know that this is a Panthers fan below me, and we got a big weekend coming up. So thanks a lot for joining in, Thomas. I do appreciate it.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. So what do you got coming at us? How did it work for you?
You had some interesting points, and I want to kind of go back on a little bit on what Jim said there. I think it's important. I don't think about it so much from an equity standpoint, but I think of collaboration, right? Mm-hmm. I think of, and it's not necessarily like minds, right? I think you have to collaborate sometime with people that have skill sets that maybe you don't have, where the gaps are, right?
Sure.
And I don't know, the equity thing, I think for some people, I'm not so much I gotta do it all myself. I mean, I'll be the first to say, okay, here's what I do well, and I'm willing to outsource the rest, be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because like accounting is something in my business, I have a CPA. Mm-hmm. I just don't like doing it. I'm not good at it, right? I mean,
right.
So I'm thinking, okay, I could spend my time.
Huh? You got a CPA, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I could spend my time other areas. You see what I'm saying? So to me, it's worth expending those dollars. So I think back to this second point is you got a self-assessment there. You got to constantly do that, right? Am I doing things that's going to further my business? Am I doing things because what can happen? You can just start doing it and you'll never assess what you're doing. So you don't really know. You think you're doing the right thing, but you never assessed it. You never go back and test it, right? I mean, you have nothing to qualify. Are you doing the right thing? Are you're not measuring it, right? So I think that's also important. And you talked about that in one of your points. And I think that's something I learned in 2015 to a really big degree, because I think for the third quarter, I didn't measure anything. And I woke up the fourth quarter and thought, oh my God, whoa, okay, I am way off our sales projections. I'm way off our, so you got to constantly keep those things. And I'm very visual. So I have like a board. You can't really see it. It's over to the side. Mm-hmm. But I write it and I constantly see it. I'm looking at, okay, that's the target. I can't let anything take me off that game, right? I mean, because if you don't constantly see it and it's not constantly in that head of yours, I mean, in that space, you can really get off track very, very easily.
And that's one of the reasons I talked about I tell everybody, put up a sign.
Right.
I'm repurposing my office. I'm putting stuff in different places, so I've taken it down. It's over in the corner, but it goes up and it's constantly in front of me. Is what you're doing building your business? Because, and that goes back to the snow effect. I am exactly like a kid in a candy store, and I am just all over the place. I get the squirrel effect in a heartbeat, and I can get caught up. So when that's there, I constantly have it looking at it because I need to know. The shiny new objects, they can stop me from getting away. And you're exactly right with what you're talking about. And I also help, and I didn't come up with it, and the name is escaping me at the moment. I'll think of it in a second, but it's a 4-quadrant grid that I have people do a little exercise with, and I haven't put dollar amounts. So I'd say 10,000, 1,000, 110. And I have them start putting all these different activities down based on what they think the value of it is, so responding to emails, general emails or something like that might go on one. Going out and getting a new client, $10,000 or $1,000. Building, doing a graphic for a Facebook ad for a webinar coming up or something. Put that in a certain area, and I'm like, okay, now everything that's in these 2 boxes, you need to farm out to somebody. Go hire somebody to do it, outsource it. You can get it done cheaply. Everything in the top 2 boxes, that's where you need to be focusing the majority of your attention. That's working on your business. And that's just, we get caught up trust me, I'm a one-man band. I sit there and I go through the mentality all the time. If I want it done, I'm gonna have to do it myself.
Right. No, not a good idea.
No, it's not, and
I have burn yourself out.
And I'm like, well, I can't afford somebody. And I'm like, can you afford $10 to $15 a week? Yeah. Right. Can you not buy that extra 2 lattes or whatever from Starbucks? And they're like, well, yeah. I said, then, you can hire a video editor. Right. You can hire a graphic person. You can hire somebody to do all this type of stuff for, $15 a week.
Well, it's sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we had to sacrifice, like when you bought, like I know, God, my wife and I, we bought our first house. I remember we wouldn't even go to the movies.
Right.
And the movies weren't $10, $12 like they are now then. Yeah. But I mean, it was just crazy. People say, well, you can't go out to dinner. Nope, we can't go out to dinner. Yeah. We're going to make dinner at home. I mean, it's all about changing your priorities and making some sacrifices, right? I mean, if your business is that important, then, because I always tell people, sometimes we hold on to things that are really not that important that we put up called this invisible importance on, right? I mean, because, you heard somebody say it, like a big social media person, like I'll just pick on him, Grant Cardone, because I just saw him the other day. I mean, he said it in 10X, so I got to do that. No. Maybe that worked for Grant Cardone, but that doesn't mean it's
absolutely
for you, right?
Absolutely. Just because it's there doesn't mean it. Of course, you probably should have done a little investigating prior to paying for whatever. But
right,
yeah, absolutely. It's all about.
Yeah, you got to apply it.
The thing is, passion comes from the Latin word. I think it's called Latin for pate. Which means to suffer. Mm-hmm. Now, if that doesn't describe every entrepreneur and small business owner, but that's why I get irritated at the misuse of passion. People say, well, it's my passion. And I'm like, no, it's your purpose.
Right.
Right. We suffer through to deliver our purpose, but it's not your, so yeah, you're hitting all the points on the nail on the head. So I'm going to ask you, the same question that I asked Jim.
Okay.
Reflecting back, what is a pitfall that you ran across that you could go, if you could tell your beginning younger self, what would it be? What was one pitfall that you wish you could have avoided or?
Well, I think for me, I initially thought I was doing it for the money.
Okay.
I did, and then it hit me.
You're not alone.
Right? I mean, that one, it was a tough one for me because I really thought at one time it was all about the money, right?
Right.
And then you that realization hits you that is it's not about, I mean, you want to make money, obviously, right? But I mean, it's not just about the money, right? It's a story, it's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
So that one, and I would think the second one was, for me, was once I realized it wasn't about the money. Initially, it was hard for me to let things go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though I'm an outsourced business, it was hard for me because I almost felt like if I didn't do it, it wasn't done right. Right. So that one was a tough lesson. I mean, and when you have the 12-hour, 14-hour days and you're up to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning constantly, that's no fun. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to, once again, go back and kind of look internally and say, what am I doing that I need to outsource and I'm just not that good at anyway, to focus on my business and not just, getting along. So I think they were the two biggest things, that I thought it was about the money, and being able to let go and be okay with it.
And be
Okay.
okay with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I guess it may be different for everybody, but they were the two big ones that I recall.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. And that's, you know what, it's not like I've never heard them before.
Right. For sure. Everybody goes through it. And, I think it's part of, they should have an entrepreneur boot camp or something that says, okay.
Even if you do, there are entrepreneur boot camps. I mean, you could equate, Marie Forleo's probably got B School, which I would equate to a boot camp, I guess.
Right.
And I'm an alum of B School. I took it. I go through it every year. Actually, I go through it a couple of times every year myself. And I'm members of groups in it, and it's just, it used to be surprising. It's no longer surprising when you hear somebody and they come out and they're like, are you not paying attention? Are you not applying? Right. And that's the whole thing, is we don't make it, we don't personalize it. We don't make it actionable. We don't make it, we focus on goals and not the achievements. As Jim was talking about, the milestones, those are very, very important. I teach about reverse goal planning. I think people approach goals the incorrect way. They approach it from the goal is in front of me. I got to get to the top. And I teach people how to visualize being at the top and the goal's already achieved. And I'll just turn around and say, okay, this is what I did to get here.
Right. Interesting.
All of a sudden, they're like, okay, well, what did you do? Well, I had webinars. Okay. And then we break it down and all that type of stuff. So absolutely.
I think, it's funny. I think sometimes we look at just do it. The thing Nike has, their whole brand image, just do it. I think sometimes we forget that. I mean, I think it's okay to just do it. I mean, I don't have to be an expert podcaster. If I want a podcast, try it, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get better, right?
Just go in there.
Right. Get in and do it. I mean, when I first did Google Analytics, I wasn't good at it at all. Right?
I think the worst advice you could give to someone just starting out is, list all, do this, then do this, do that. It's better if they just went in there, even if the list of things they know is small, at least they can experience it and maybe fail, and they'll learn a lot from that failure. But if you do this, and then you got to do this, and then, oh my God, they might take a step back and say, that's a lot of stuff,
Right. And once again, that failure that you're calling, I look at it as a learning experience, an opportunity to,
sure.
Because sometimes when people hear the word failure, it's that negative connotation. I agree that you got to do it and learn from the mistakes, the failures, whatever you want to call them, right? I mean, let's not get caught up on words, but I think until you do it and you go through that, I mean, you're not really learned. You haven't really learned, right? I mean, I think I think you got to be open to constant learning, right? Because every day,
I think you want to fail fast and quickly. I mean, you just want to fail your butt off. And I think even in Silicon Valley, they look for people to have failed startups. I mean, I've had 2 failed ones. Well, it's great. Wow, this guy's got a diploma, basically, versus some guy who's got a great idea and he's got some business pedigree, but not a lot of business failures under his belt.
Well, not that I'm a advocate for the show, even though I do like looking at it like Shark Tank. I think David mentioned it earlier. I mean, Damon Wayans and some of those guys, if you haven't failed at least twice, they don't even want to talk to you almost, right?
Exactly. They look at it and it's very good entertainment, but there's a lot that people could learn. But unfortunately, a lot of people look at it for the wrong.
Right.
A lot of people get into business looking for the quick buck. And I'm sorry, if you are looking for the quick, every overnight success took 8 to 10 years to make.
And anytime
I know,
you look at any of the successful people in any business, whether it's social media, it could be manufacturing, whatever. They have a journey, right? They've had a story. I mean, unfortunately, I think sometimes we only see the end product, right, of the journey, right, and that's what gets publicized. But when you talk to them, that there were some trials and tribulations.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. There was there's a story that I heard and I repeat often, and it's between a reporter and a CEO. So CEO is very successful, and the reporter sits down and he says, a lot of people would like to know about your success. Can you talk to us about your success? And he says, sure, 2 words. And the reporter says, well, what are the words? And he goes, right decisions. The reporter's like, okay. And so he says, well, how did you know these were right decisions? And the CEO goes, well, 1 word. The reporter goes, okay, well, what is that? He goes, experience. He goes, okay, well, how did you get this experience? And the CEO goes, 2 words. The reporter goes, well, what is that? Wrong decisions. Every success is based off of the experience of the failures that we have. It's a journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You are all saying exactly the right stuff. Let's see. Okay, no problem. I have a son, and trust me, he might get. He often likes to just barge in, but that's okay. That's life. This is reality TV. But yeah, it's one of the things that I try and help. Well, the brand machine is about, and the reason it came about is because I was very much a victim of it myself. You start up, and then all of a sudden, all the advice starts coming in. Oh, you need a website. Oh, you need a Facebook fan page. Oh, you need to be on Twitter. Oh, you need to go to Periscope and Blab and all this type of stuff. And it just all of a sudden starts going all over the place. And they get caught up in the snow effect. They get caught up in all the stuff, and they just don't go. And that's one of my words. My 3 words for this year are go, hello, and serve. And go is there because, as I was stating, just do it. Just go. Stop worrying about perfectionitis. Don't analysis paralysis, whatever it is you want to call it. Just do it.
Yes.
Figure out what doesn't work as you go, because you're going to sit there, like I said, when something goes wrong,
right?
You will. The difference between you and the person that's successful is how long you dwelled on it. How long did you feed into the bad side of poor pity me, the pity party?
How did you react and get up and dust yourself off and get going again, right?
But you've got to get the experience of being able to pick yourself up, So that's why I'm saying there's all this out there to help once you're there and all these different things. But if you're starting out, do you need to know how to do Facebook ads? Not the first day.
No, definitely.
Right.
Do you need to know how to have better quality videos? Do you need to be spending and investing, $1,000 into lighting and microphones and backgrounds and video editing? No. You know what you need to do? You need to pick up your phone.
Right.
That has the camera on it.
Right.
And film a video and get it out there. Work on your story.
The cameras are pretty darn good on these phones.
Absolutely. I do. I do 90% of my videos filmed are on an iPhone.
Wow.
Now, have I gone through? Do I have the mic and the lights and all? Yeah, but in the beginning, did I? No. And you know what? Are my videos perfect? Nah. Are they better? Yeah. But, absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
No, go ahead.
Jim. No, go ahead, Jimmy. I think you had a point you were going to make.
No, I was just saying, well, talking about the pitfalls. One of the pitfalls I made was trying to make something I thought people would like, but I didn't like. And it's kind of an interesting tale. If you look at my website, it's about forecasting the aurora borealis, and we send out alerts to people around the world saying, okay, you go outside, you don't, that kind of deal. And that website called Soft Serve News, well, originally it was a celebrity news site. So I thought, well, everybody likes celebrity news. I don't really like it. I mean, I don't mind looking at pretty people every once in a while, but it's not my thing. So I whipped up some code, and I basically aggregated celebrity news, and I had pictures, and I just let it run. And at most, it got maybe 100 page views a day at its peak of the celebrity news. And then I go, okay, well, maybe I should write some articles. You got to write a lot of articles, and then people will come and they'll discover it. So I wrote a couple of articles, and I would promote the articles, and I'd get a blip. And it didn't really take off. And I wrote an article on the aurora borealis, which is something I was interested in. And I put some code in there to update the forecast. And wouldn't you know it, that's the only page anybody went to. They skipped through the whole site. And I started getting inbound links and Google traffic from the one page that I found of value. So, and then eventually I pivoted and I made the whole site about the aurora borealis. And I kept the name Soft Serve News. It's kind of known in that space. So I never changed it, even though it doesn't make any sense. But but again, that was, if I would have started at the beginning, I solved my own problem versus, well, boy, people, this is popular. I'm going to go in this big pool of massive 10,000 sites, and I'm going to throw my site in there versus, boy, I'm interested in this. I'm going to build something that adds value. I thought it was valuable. That's the only page I went to. And sure enough, that's the only page anybody cared about. So my whole business is predicated on that, solving my own problem, building something that I thought was good, that I liked, that solved my problem versus, boy, I think other people will like this. I'm not saying you can't succeed like that, but it was kind of a wrong path for me.
Well, you know what? It can be done that way. And so let me, again, it starts off as an idea. So I'll give you a very interesting success story. So there is have you heard of the product called Poo-Pourri?
Like not Poo-Pourri, right. Not Potpourri.
Sounds made up.
Not Potpourri, Poo-Pourri.
Okay.
It's not made up.
Okay.
It's a company based out of Australia. And so the lady, the woman that started this business, her thing was, as a lot of young women are, they're very, they want everything to be perfect. It's all about image, and I don't want to do this. Okay, well, her thing was she didn't want her boyfriend to know that she was going poo. In fact, she didn't, it was like, well, I don't even really want him to know that I'm going poo, all this type of stuff. But I mean, how do you mask the smell and all the the sprays and all this type of stuff, and then, lighting a match, and all you're doing is, putting flowers on top of the smell of poo is basically what you're doing. And she's like, there's got to be a way to do it better. And she invented Poo-Pourri, and it is a spray. So basically it's oil. Is all it is. It's scented oil, and you just spray it into the toilet, and then when you go poo, the smell does not escape past the oil because it's thicker than. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what and this is a very successful company, and go Google it. The commercials that they've done for themselves are absolutely hilarious.
Wow.
But I mean, that's the whole, and there was a market for it. She was like, and that's the whole thing. We're not here on the planet by ourselves. So you came up with something and it became successful because, you know what? There were other people out there who were like, oh, okay, yeah. This is really cool.
And they sell the stuff. Really interesting.
Oh, yeah. It's a great website. I'm looking at it right now. Girls Don't, which is how, Yes.
I mean, because who would have really thought?
Oh,
I mean,
I have it here because trust me, I said the moment I could get my hands on it because it was the same way. It's like you've got company over, and you don't want everybody to sit there and think that they're in a cow field of 300 cows or something like that because the smell just comes wafting out.
God,
But
that's
that just shows that you know. And she went through the same fears and the same setbacks and all this other type of stuff, and she had
Wow.
failures. But she had a vision of a world that smelled less like poo. So that's the whole thing.
That's a great website too. I love it. That's fantastic.
When you first started that story, I started thinking of a friend of mine, a friend of my family that has a business called Pooper Scooper, which you may have heard of,
Mhm.
and they actually go around to dog parks and park everywhere and pick up dog poop, and
Mhm. Yeah.
but they've made a very successful business out of it because nobody wants to do
Nobody
that.
wants to deal with it. Exactly. There's, and that's the whole thing. There's a thing. And if you don't know and this is one of the points that I was talking about where it was about not testing or measuring and going at it alone. A lot of times we continue to do stuff and we don't involve our target audience.
Right.
Well, one thing is we haven't even figured out who our target audience is. Thanks for putting that link up in there.
Yeah.
But if you involve them, there's a car company in California. I can't remember that name either. They make a car. What you buy the car is not even on a concept yet. You help design it. But in order to do that, you have to put up the $50,000 it's going to cost to build the car. But after you do that, you are involved in the entire process, you and everybody else, of building the car. You get to vote for this and downvote that and all this other type of stuff. And that's just doing the involvement. Think of Apple and the iPhone. What product out there came out before the iPhone where you not only paid for it in advance, but you paid for it in advance before you ever got it.
Yeah,
they already paid for the product.
Apple has a cult. At first, when you started, I thought you were talking about Tesla, but I think I can't remember.
No, it's not Tesla.
I think I do know the company that you're talking about. That's amazing that people would put $50,000 down, sight unseen.
It's amazing that people would put $1,000 down or $600 down for a phone, sight unseen, brand new. They changed everything about it, and
that's the Apple effect.
and it's not just Apple. Amazon can do it; they do it as well. Google gets in there and does it and everything. So there is credence behind having people help your target audience help build the final product or contribute to the product as it matures. And they really enjoy it. They really, really enjoy it because they're a part of the process.
Well, that's
if they're no
interesting.
longer a customer, they're a part of the process. So
I think it's important to do it to your audience as you're building, to your customers, your prospective customers. I mean, there's a number of tools. I mean, there's Twitter polls. There's a number of tools out you can do it with. You can just do old-fashioned surveys. But I mean, you're right. You do need the data, right? I mean, because you may think it's great, but then you might get the feedback. Well, golly, this is not great. It's just good, right? I mean, or it may help you make it better, right? I mean, if you're listening, right?
Right.
I'll tell you, Thomas, even better than polls is just sell it. Just try to sell it or use interested. I mean, there's the story of Dropbox where they basically had no product, but then they had a little video explaining the product, and they got all these signups, and they're like, "Wow, this is hot. People want this. Now let's build it." Or I know a lot of people, or not. One of the tactics is you put a sales page and you basically sell the product that you haven't designed yet, and see how many people buy it, and then you say, "Well," at that point they proceed with the purchase, and then they say, "Well, we're some kind of I forget what they typically say, something like." We're back ordered. We're going to send you an email when the product is available, and thank you for your order. And then you can reorder at that time or something like that, where you can really say, wow, there is demand or not. Rather than, of course, that's just like the lean startup, fail fast, get information, and See if somebody wants to buy what you're selling.
Well, big brands do that.
Let me respond to Dino real quick because he's got a couple questions in there. So, Dino, you would do well to actually check out my the blab that I did last night, but I'll do a real quick recap of it. So, Dino's saying that he wants to start his own film company and he needs help. And then he's talking about having an LLC over being incorporated. What's the pros and cons of it? So, let me tackle that first one with you needing help. And this goes into leverage. If you want to do something and you don't know anything about it, go out there and align yourself, find out who you admire, who the community admires, and reach out for help. See what they're doing, start mimicking what they're doing and what in their company. And if you need to know from the beginning, then just ask. Again, people love being asked. I love being asked. You can probably ask Thomas, you could probably ask Jim. We are, again, if you go out and you ask somebody and they're cold and blow you off, trust me, they're not who you wanted to align yourself with and who you wanted to look up to in the first place. They're just whatever. So that's my biggest thing. If you want to start a film company, is it going to be local? Who are you going to film? Who are you going to help? All those types of things, but. That would be my biggest, I can tell, go ask maybe James Wedmore. He's a friend. He's got a very successful business. You can go look up Brandon Lucero. Again, it really depends on what you want to do when you involve film, because that's really kind of a broad area. So I don't want to touch on it. Having an LLC ever being incorporated, I am not really qualified to answer that completely. I would say LLC over being incorporated, because you can always change it later down the road if you need to. You can become incorporated, but an LLC should cover you just fine. Now, if you don't have the funds to do it, go to your local courthouse and get yourself set up as a DBA. In my state, it costs $25. At least, and go get yourself. Don't use your home address. Go to a UPS store or a postal annex or someplace where you can go get a post office box. But the benefit of it is that you have a real street address, so that it can help make you real. That's my take. Now, Jim or Thomas, if you have input other than that, and then I see EDN Incubator. Putting up a link about somebody doing great things for disabled veterans. That's awesome.
I'm a type subchapter S corp, type S corp. I just use LegalZoom. They're reasonably priced. You can do some research. There's tons of articles online about the differences between subchapter S and LLC. And then, I actually found LegalZoom to be pretty helpful. I rarely talk to them. Whenever I do, they are kind of helpful. You could probably get some, I don't want to say free advice, but they can say, well, you can do this or you can do that. And I would do some reading up on that.
Yeah, and that's who I used. I ended up going through LegalZoom. There's a couple others that are out there, and honestly, I ended up using LegalZoom.
And I would say your local SBA, right? I mean, they're free. They got free stuff, right? I mean, and it's also a good way locally to tap into that group, because they can sometimes, as you expand, get you into you can kind of find out what kind of businesses they're looking for, what businesses are in the area, the different trade associations. So I think the SBAs are a great resource. Definitely. I mean, it's free.
We have an organization, at least in Chicago, but I think in other areas, called SCORE. And
yes.
SCORE has a lot of grizzly veterans on there that just want to help people, and you could probably hook up with them. Yeah.
Yep. SCORE is a great group. Yeah. Just
awesome.
Just as the name he said, like SCORE, SCORE. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, the resources they have.
Well, guys, we are approaching. We've actually gone over the time that I typically allot for this, so I'm going to get ready and shut this down. But Jim and Thomas, I want to thank you both. So, Jim, I'm going to say I always offer the ability for you to promote yourself a little bit. So, how can people get in touch with you, find out about you, reach out with you?
Well, if anybody's interested in the Aurora Borealis and you live in the northern part of Earth, you can just hover over my little cowboy hat face there, and you can click on that website, and that can give you some forecasts if anybody's interested in the Northern Lights.
Okay, awesome, great.
All right, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna type in my link here.
There you go. Absolutely, and if you've got a link,
link,
Jim, you're more than welcome to put that into the comments.
That's my website. Welcome. If you have interest in just even discussing your planning your social media for your business, I do just business, not personal. And just if you want to have a discussion, we do consultations free. And for the first quarter, we're offering a 25% discount for all new clients for all our service packages.
See, you're already winning. You're already saving money back in your pocket with that type of situation right there. Let me tell you. And you know what, Dino, and I had the name, but AJ. You are more than welcome to also put into the chat section there your links or how somebody can reach out to you as well. Check out documentary When the Bell Rings on Amazon or iTunes. And if you've got a link, by all means, like I say, put that in there. You are welcome to do that. Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, again, I want to thank my guests, Jim and Thomas, for joining me and asking and answering some great questions. My name is David Vaughn. This is Now What's Next. We were again talking about the pitfalls of starting a business and what to avoid. Thanks a lot, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you, guys.